Now, when everybody else is sending one of those generic emails, you send a high note. Stand out. This looks better, right? It will impress them. And Mark will talk about the analytics on the back end, right? But it's more than just a PDF nowadays, right? PDFs are scrolling. This is all interactive, right?
Right.
Links, pages, documents, spreadsheets, videos, CMAs, whatever you want. Doesn't make a difference. It's all in one unified feed. When I saw this, I was like, wow, like what an easy tool to use that can really make a big impact for everyday agents. And every single one of you works with buyers, and every single one of you probably works with sellers as well. So now is the perfect opportunity to really take a look at, what we've done and how this is really going to help you in your business.
Awesome. Thanks, Randy. All right. So just a little background for those that know me. I'm an agent, and I was an agent, just like you, practicing. 2006, I got my license with KW. In 2010, I started Climb Real Estate. And that feels like a long time ago, and it was. But we won a lot of listings, and we won a lot of buyers. And we skyrocketed into the stratosphere. And we sold the company, and I started this software company. And when we learned how to win listings and win buyers, we taught hundreds of agents also how to win. And we're going to show you this method now. And I just want to set this up a little bit. We were new, and we were unknown. We had a new brokerage, we were new in our careers, and so we had fewer leads. And just like today, in today's market, there's fewer leads. There are less transactions. And so what do you have to do if you have fewer leads? Well, you have to make sure you increase your close rate. Every single lead that you get, you need to do everything you can to win that lead, whether it's a buyer or a seller. The premise and the concept is very similar in terms of our method on how you close these leads. Okay. So what we did is we focused on closing the leads that we had. And how do you do that? Well, it was through presentation. But what we did was we ended up building the best lead closing system, period, hands down, in the industry. Okay. And the secret really is having the best presentation. And it's not just the physical materials that you have or what you say in person, but it's the whole process, the whole presentation process. And that old adage goes, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so what does that mean? Well, one, you need to stand out. You can't just have a polished presentation just like everyone else's. Yours needs to be different. Yours needs to be unique. Two, it needs to be visually appealing. Why? Because you're a salesperson, and you're in real estate, and it's the rarest of animals, so to speak, because you are both a salesperson and you do marketing as well. So you need presentation is everything for you. It also needs to be informative, not salesy, right? Informative. And it also needs to tell a story. The other thing it needs to do in order to stand out is to use technology. It needs to be interactive, not just a PDF document that's 50 megabytes or 100 megabytes or PowerPoint. It just can't just be that. It needs to be digital, online, and it needs to support different formats. Video, it needs to support websites, it needs to support links, it needs to support web pages, and it needs to be mobile friendly. And you need tracking and analytics. So what does that mean? Well, you get to see and understand what they're reading. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And now with buyer presentation, Randy, you do more than just open doors, right? So now it's time you explain all the hard work you do, right? Especially with buyer presentation today and the NAR settlement. Randy, do you want to talk about this?
Sorry, my mute thing. I don't know if it keeps getting turned off or what. This is really important, especially it's been really frustrating with all the NAR stuff to me, because I don't think that it really helps the buyer. I think that, commission's always been negotiable. And I've just had a lot of in-depth conversations, and I'm married to an agent as well. So I get it. And me and a couple friends like really took a tally on all the things that a buyer's agent does. And more times than not, especially if you're working with a lot of different buyers, like you're doing more work, right? And now you have to go above and beyond and explain yourself. But for years, a lot of agents have just kind of been able to get around explaining all this stuff. They just think that, oh, they showed me two houses and then you get paid all this stuff. But look at all of this stuff that you guys do, right? For every single buyer that you work with, you're doing tons of things. And one of the easiest ways to justify value or compensation is stacking the value, right? So it's like, what are you doing per hour? Like, list out all of these things and walk through it and have an explainer behind it, right? You don't just identify homes. You're looking for specific things that fit their criteria, right? You're working on setting up the showings and providing showing feedback every time. You have to go drive out to the house, meet the people, do all these things, sometimes once before and then once with the client, just to make sure that it works, right? You handle contracts and negotiations and helping with financing and lining things up and making sure that the property is just not a dog, it's just not riddled with a bunch of problems. In handling inspections. I know this one firsthand. My wife was just dealing with one where she had to help the person make sure that, because they didn't know what to look for when doing inspections. They weren't going to do some of the inspections, and they wound up catching a couple big things that wound up saving that client tens of thousands of dollars, right? All of these things that you guys are doing, you now, with these changes, should bring this up ahead of time, right? And say, listen, these are all the things that I am going to do for you, right? And then you can talk about compensation later. But again, you guys do more than just open doors, and the news narrative has been trash. And if you were to calculate this per hour, right, even at $100 or $200 an hour, all the different things that you actually would do, I mean, you'd probably be getting paid more, especially if you have to show a buyer, more than 5 or 6 houses. And in today's market, you kind of do, right? The market is still moving at a pretty rapid rate, even though rates are up, right? So just start to factor these things in and explain it in a better way. And I think that you'll be able to navigate these waters a heck of a lot easier. So I think that I mentioned this, right? Don't just provide the value, right? Provide overwhelming value that shows that you are the best agent. Because I guarantee if you listed out that massive laundry list of all the other things that you did in a presentation versus another buyer's agent that just came in and says, yeah, I'm going to show you some houses and do this, they're going to perceive your value as higher, right? You're going to get this and 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 go through it, right?
Thanks a lot. And so that's a little bit of background, why you need to build these presentations. And, it's really about showing value, but crystallizing it in a formalized way. And so let's talk about the appointment, right? You're about to meet the buyer, you're about to meet the seller. So what you really should do is, one, when the lead finds you, you have an initial email or phone call, right? To meet with them, meet with the buyer, meet with the seller. And then you have the in-person meeting, and then you have a follow-up, and then you close. This is how all sales meetings work. And so what you should do before your meeting is send something stunning. Send something digital. Send something different than what other people do. And then what you also should do is send something great after the presentation. Why? Because during the in-person meeting, if you haven't closed them, if they haven't agreed to work with you, you need to follow up and you need to explain your value. You need to answer questions, objections. They're probably interviewing other people, not just one buyer agent, but several, or listing agents. So there's always going to be follow up. Rarely is it going to be, hey, let's go. I mean, often it is, but sometimes it's not. And then if it's not, you need to follow up. So the premise is you got to bookend the appointment, right, with stunning and standout experiences before and after as well. And it's going to do a couple of things too. It's going to make the in-person meeting super streamlined and easy and more successful. And why? Because we've done this a million times and we teach people to do it. Now, questions. How many of you do this now? How many send a presentation before the actual meeting? And how would you rate it? Is chat enabled? I hope chat's enabled.
Yeah.
So I want people to answer. How many send a presentation now before the meeting?
Think about the power in sending like just a video alone. How much more comfortable do you think that your people would be by the time you actually show up? So for example, if I sent you a video in a high note, specifically, along with all the other information, and I kind of talked about myself and high note and, all this other stuff, and Mark didn't, by the time you guys got to this presentation, you would already have a connection with me over Mark because of that. It's those small competitive advantages that you want to take advantage of to do it.
Right.
So make sure that you're sending it before you actually show up.
Got it. Okay. So as people are answering, there's various answers. They don't send anything before. Maybe they do it for the seller, but not for the buyer. Various answers throughout. Now, the question is, how would you rate what you send? Right? Those that do send something, how would you rate it from 1 to 10? Right? And if it's not a 10, that's probably why you're here. Right?
Yeah. So a couple shout outs. I want to shout out to Greg. Right. I love the video text, Greg. Love that. Right. I think that that's absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, I'm seeing that a lot of people haven't been doing this for buyers. And my question is why, right? They hold the same amount of value. And for a long time, I mean, I feel like buyers have kind of been less serviced. And maybe that's
I mean, I'll tell you why, right? We've never had to ask them to pay, right, before. And so it's been sort of like given that, oh, well, you don't have to pay for my services. So it's a less of a hard close in a way, but that's going to change. I don't think we're going to be in a situation where the buyer will pay in all transactions, at least not initially. I think the listing agents will do a good job in convincing their sellers that they still need to entice and motivate agents to show their property, despite it being their fiduciary duty to do so, regardless of commission. But everyone knows if the seller is not offering a commission, it becomes a little difficult to sell the property. Okay, great. But let's talk about part of all this is, do more than others, right? Especially if you are not a better agent than other agent, more experienced, have more sales. You're not with like the top brokerage or whatever it may be. You need to do more, and it's not hard to do more. Is the point. Now, what I'm going to show you is this buyer presentation template, and it's a high note specific one. And so if you're familiar with high note already, you know how this works. And but if you're not familiar with High Note, this is what it looks like. And what does it do? Well, it builds trust because you show something that's very professional, well put together, and good looking, right? And it shows overwhelming value, and it describes not only the whole process, and I'm going to show you all this in a second. It's digital and interactive, and it's evergreen. You could just make it one time and send it multiple times. So this is what it looks like. First you want to offer, start it on a high note, right? You want to offer congratulations on embarking on their journey towards owning a home. And then you want to talk about you and your team. A video would be fantastic here. Not necessarily, but in this day and age, I think you should do it. Explain what a real estate advisor does, right? Your brokerage, talk about, validating your presence in the market. You could also include your team in here as well. And then really start diving into the essential value that agents provide, right? We provide this sort of handout that you could give to agents, your buyers as well. And it really talks about every single thing that agents do on a higher level. NAR publishes something, 182 things or whatever the number is that agents do. You could also include that as well. But this is something you said before, right? So the other thing you want to do is saying, when you meet, right? This is what you're going to talk about: introductions, your capabilities, the real estate market, etc. So laying out the foundation for the meeting. There's different sections in this buyer presentation. I'm going to go through each one. Your housing search, let's get you a home preferences, also talk about the real estate market, the national scene, what's going on nationally, what's going on locally, in your city or in your area, and then discuss all the neighborhoods and what the trends are. Buying a home, the home buying process. This is, what you need to do when you buy a home. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And then, talk about pre-approval, making an offer, home inspection and other contingencies, closing on the home, right? What happens? And then maybe a home warranty policy if you offer one. And then now, how we work together. So this is really just the first sections are describing like what an agent does for you but by describing the process, right? And you're implying that you help them with all this stuff, and it's a lot of stuff. We all know.
Let's break this down for a second, right? For those of you who are sending something, or maybe even who are not, or even on your listing side, right? How people have been doing this traditionally or historically lately, right? Is they send this in an email. They create a handful of PDFs and they send it off in a long email, right? When the client receives it, it kind of looks like work, right? Any of you guys who've ever gotten a long email with a bunch of attachments, you're confused, like, I download something from my phone, where did it go? What haven't I looked at, right? There's a bunch of links taking me all over the place. That's what the customer experience is like, right? And you might be saying, wow, this is a lot of stuff. The idea is to wow them, right? Are they going to read every single thing? Absolutely not. But the difference here is when you're sending over a high note, you can text them over this link. You can email them over this. It's all interactive, right? So when they click on a video, they're not being sent to your YouTube page. When they click on a PDF, they don't have to download anything. When it's another link, they're not being sent somewhere else, right? It's very much in native scroll, just like Instagram would be, okay? Now, when everybody else is sending one of those generic emails, you send a high note. Stand out. This looks better, right? It will impress them. And Mark will talk about the analytics on the back end, right? But it's more than just a PDF nowadays, right? PDFs are scrolling. This is all interactive, right?
Right.
Links, pages, documents, spreadsheets, videos, CMAs, whatever you want. Doesn't make a difference. It's all in one unified feed.
think about this like a web page, an online proposal, right? All right, so let's keep talking about some of these sections. How we work together and understanding the NAR lawsuit. You know, they've heard about the NAR lawsuit, most likely. It was in every single major media outlet, and the headlines couldn't have been more wrong, right? The end of 6%, you know, et cetera, and all these crazy headlines. So you need to explain it to them, right? So we have something here where you can understand the NAR settlement. What was the lawsuit about? What are the key terms of the settlement, et cetera. Understanding how agents are compensated, really explaining to them how the real estate agent is paid. And then understanding buyer representation, right? In order to work together, we're going to need to sign this agreement. When I meet with you, we could talk about this, right? But sending this, don't be afraid of sending this ahead of time, right? Because it's going to be something that's going to be required. It also shows, you know, confidence. It's a presumptive close, and you know, you can you know, really show that you mean business and you're ready to go. Then you talk about your commitment to them, to make them feel good that you're committed to working with them, and then about you and about your brokerage, et cetera. So this is one format of a template that works really well. And you know, you can edit, move sections around, as you know, and change them in different ways because every market's a little bit different. All right. Now back to this. So you could scan this QR code. We provide tips. And we also provide a template. And now again, why do you do something like this? Well, to stand out, right? You want to be the one that sends the best one. Think about it that way, right? When you're getting lazy and you feel like, oh, I don't want to create another presentation, well, then you may not win this deal. You may not win this buyer. And you know, what's that worth to you, right? Is it worth not doing it? I don't think so, right? It could be the difference between a client and not a client. And you know, you need to explain what a buyer agent does in greater detail now. Why? Because they may need to pay for your services, right? It's kind of obvious. You want to lay out the basics, send it ahead of time, right? Because they need to review it. And you don't want to spend your hour or half an hour with them in person explaining everything. You want to get a lot of the preliminaries out of the way so that during the meeting, you can just focus on them and then the close. So you lay out the basics, set up the in-person meeting to be successful. And the better materials that you send, informative, beautiful, different, differentiated, the better your in-person meeting is. Not only that, if you send it, why would you send it this way instead of a PDF? Well, a PDF cannot tell you what the buyer is reading and what they're not reading, right? High Note can. You send it in this format, we tell you exactly what sections are being read, how long, and where they spent their time. This way, when you're in person, you can use the analytics and data to understand what they are thinking, what are issues for them, and what are not issues. Okay. And very often when you provide this is like a pre-sell before the meeting. You know, very often sending something like this can blow the competition out of the water, and they want to go with you immediately. That this happens a lot when we send it. We win listings this way and buyers this way because why? The other agents were too lazy. They didn't send anything. They just said, I'll just show up and meet them and talk about it in person. Well, I wouldn't leave it to chance. So send it ahead of time. Now, this also works for listing presentations, obviously. You know, you could do something before as well as something after. It's a science, right? There's an art and science behind this all. You know, all the sections that you need. We also have this. Now, I want to take a poll here. Why technology, right? So put in some questions in here. Put in some of your answers. Why would you use technology to send this, right? A survey of Americans There was a survey conducted, I think it was by Redfin. What do Americans want in real estate? They polled home buyers and sellers, and they found that 50%, 57% said the technology their agent uses is important to them, right? Over half. So I want to see some answers here. Why do you think you should use technology to send your presentations and not just the simple PDF? I don't see any answers yet. What do you think, Randy? Chris, why everyone, I want to see some answers. Why do you think we should use technology, right? I'm going to give you some hints.
I use technology because it makes things easier. I don't want to handwrite any letters. That's why I used email. I don't want to make a junk email filled with a bunch of stuff. That's why I want to use a high note.
Right. Good.
Self-driving cars, I'm on the fence, but I'm coming around, you know?
Scott says, makes a great impression. Yeah, makes process easier, makes you appear cutting edge, stay ahead of competition, easier to do things. More and more are using it as well, right? These are all great answers, right? And the other reasons are, one, you could track the reader interest, right? Like I said, if you send it through a platform, like a sales platform, you can detect what they're reading and we notify you. You have to find ways to stand out, right? You can't all just be talking about buyer representation and 180 things you do the buyer agent does. Kathleen's asking about the flipping pages. Absolutely. You can embed a flip book inside of Highnote as well. All right. Let me ask you a question. There's another reason. What if your competition sends one? Right? You're going to be way behind. And the other reason, your buyer or seller is going to be expecting it, right? They want you to be up on technology. And the last answer is, why not digital? It is 2024 after all. You have cars that can drive themselves now, right? It's time to embrace technology, and that includes your sales process. So these are all the answers. Thank you.
There's a couple of things I want to mention in there too, Mark. Number one, you guys need to be thinking about evergreen, right? And evergreen is something that you can reuse time and time again, right? You can customize this specifically. You can create one of these, or we can create them for you, right? It's up to you. But you can create one of these and you can use it over and over and over again and just swap assets out real quick. So first-time home buyer, if your first-time home buyer video is a little bit different, you could obviously swap that out. Luxury, right? You could do that. You could make some subtle changes, but you could make them quickly once you have that solid foundation. That is a really important thing. The other thing is texting out via a link is probably one of the best things that you can do. Right? Why is that important? Well, I had about 200,000 people on our CRM, and texting was a big component. And texting had a 97% open rate and like a 92% click-through rate. I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot more unread emails right now than I do have text messages. Also, people take this little black box with them everywhere. They take it to the bathroom. They take it to the store. They take it while their wife is trying on shoes, right? People are natively doing this. Highnote is exclusively built, right, to look beautiful on native. So people can be engaging with it immediately versus like, oh, I got to download all this stuff. I'm just going to wait until I get back to my computer. People want things now. They want them quick and accessible. Give them what they want.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Questions. I want to open it up for some questions. Any quick questions? I see a lot of questions coming in and people have been answering. Fantastic. Okay, good. Let me keep going here. All right. So listen, your presentation is a reflection of yourself. Right? And if you have an average presentation, what does that say about you as an agent and a professional? So when we were agents and professionals and brokerages, the presentation was really everything, right? It's how you conduct your business. It's truly a reflection of your own business and your attitude, right? So again, think about it. How would you rate your own presentations from 1 to 10? And why is it not a 10? Right? Play to win. Play to win is what I always say. So, all right. The other thing is your presentation should tell a story. It's storytelling. And it's a powerful tool for what? Creating an emotional connection. And humans love to read stories. They love stories. Beginning, middle, conclusion. And the conclusion is that you are the only person for the job, right? So make sure you do that. Now, what does average do? They may send an email like this, full of links and PDFs. This is what Randy was talking about earlier, right? Sometimes they don't send anything, right? So, I mean, it's a real poor reflection. And, this is what the experience is, what the reader sees. They are maybe older, right? They can't see and understand what you're sending. And then they need to discuss with you. They may not read any of this stuff because it's too much, right? It's not presented well. It's a big mess. And this is the experience. So let me ask you, what would make a better impression? Something like this or a beautifully laid out online proposal and presentation, something like this, video, links, etc. So let me ask everyone here, what's your biggest takeaway thus far that we've talked about? So answer in the chat, what's your biggest takeaway? I'm going to pause a second to see what people are saying. Give us some feedback. Edwin's asking, how much is it? Cool. Chris, make sure technology, the presentation is important. Cool. Don't be complacent. Get it done and send it out. Absolutely. It needs to be slick. Absolutely. Spend time setting it up right and then repurposing it over and over again. Absolutely. Make the best presentation as possible to stand out. That's right. Good. All right. So we have some offers here. And how many people are not High-Note users? I guess maybe, or how many, just messaging here, how many people are High-Note users and how many people are not? Cool, Edwin. Never used the presentation before. Jason, cool. Welcome back. Just starting. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Donna, not a user, never used it. Great. All right. So I am going to go through. Okay, there's a lot of people who are not users. Some are. Great. Some people paid and haven't used it yet. Okay, so let's talk about it. All right, so I'm going to do a quick little intro what it is. Now, it's a next generation sales presentation platform. We talked about this till we're blue in the face. What does that mean? Digital, online, interactive, AI. AI can help you build it, help you with text. We're adding more AI features. And our users are saying that High-Note is an absolute game changer for their business. It's their secret weapon. We've been written up. We got 5 stars from Inman. We've been written up a ton. We're finalists for most innovative real estate technology. We are invested in by NAR as well. Bottom line, High-Note helps you win deals. It streamlines the whole sales pitching process and how it collects and delivers everything in a single, beautiful, and trackable presentation. Links, Matterports, CMAs, offers, videos, etc. Deliver it. Sellers love it. Buyers love it. You get to see what's being read and you close and win deals. It works with all the latest real estate tech. You could throw at it. You use it for winning listings as well. So many use cases of how agents are winning listings with it. And all these different use cases, how how you should use it, sending one before, sending one after, etc. Using the analytics to determine what the seller's reading. So many great rave reviews about it. And making your offer stand out is another use case. Offers look more professional. Listing agents and sellers are super impressed. Again, you use the analytics to gauge the interest. And agents have reported beating higher offers with High-Note offers. And when the agents receive it, they're impressed, right? It's very different. And cool. Any sales or marketing use case, winning buyers, like we were talking about, many different marketing functions. keeping clients informed, maybe marketing to a neighborhood, client retention, and agents are just loving it. So what you get with HighNote, right, is a world-class listing winning tool, digital buyer presentations, offer presentations, digital flyers, client retention as well, lead capture. You could also use it for recruiting, and really so much more. And so agents are saying they win deals with HighNote. So how much is a client worth to you, right? If HighNote can get you one more buyer or seller, right, what would you pay for this kind of service, right? It's a $500,000 average transaction, let's say. One commission's $10,000. So this was our secret, how we won so many deals and we pulled ahead of the competition. We use great technology to win. And when you start adding this up, it really, really increases your income capabilities, especially when leads are low and fewer than they were before. You need to convert. Okay, so the buyer presentation system, what you get is a winning digital buyer presentation, right? The done for you customization service. We meet with you and customize the buyer presentation for you. And HighNote, you get the software, right? This is the value that we have. $2,500 for this. It's 708.88 is our offer. You use the HighNote webinar for 20% off today. You get it for $567 the entire. This is for non-HighNote users, right? Now, if you are already a HighNote user, and this is, by the way, for a 1-year license for HighNote, and not only we meet with you and set it up and help build these presentations, the buyer presentation for you. So scan this, and you can get this deal, $567.10. Use the HighNote webinar code, right, for that. Now, what I'm also going to talk about for the HighNote users out there, we have this buyer presentation, right? Now, we can just send you the template, which is great, and you can work on it yourself. Absolutely. But what we have is an offer to set it up for you. So it's $349 to set it up for you. But today it's $279.20, 20% off the purchase price to set up this template for you. Again, if you're a HighNote user and you're fluent with it, we'll send you the template. You could go at it, have at it. But a lot of agents are busy. They want this customized and set up for them. And again, we could set this. It's a new service that HighNote users may not know about. But we had this feedback that they needed help setting stuff up. So we offered this white glove setup. Okay, I see a lot of questions here, a lot of feedback. Anything else?
One of the biggest things that people need to understand is, like, do you want to go in there and build your own? That's totally fine. We've looked at thousands of these. We know what works, and we can build them for you. And this hasn't been around that long, so we will just go in, build them completely out, custom for you based upon a proven model that we know works, and you guys can just use it over and over and over again.
Yeah,
right? That's the real competitive advantage.
Cool.
Especially right now, versus people are like, oh, I added this, I forgot to do this, I'm going to go in there, right? These are relatively easy to do, but we have that proven and that winning formula, and we know what works. So if you value your time, just let us go in, let us get them done for you. That's great. Or if you want to go in there and mess around with it, you obviously can do it that way as well. It's still an easy system to use.
Edwin's asking about a listing presentation system. Absolutely. So our listing presentation system is similar to the buyer one, except it's another step. There's a follow-up listing presentation you send after. So there's two that you set up, pre and a follow-up. And this is the offer that we have. It's $957 to set these up. Again, 20% off with this webinar discount. It's $766 to set it up plus HighNote together. So, there's been a lot of offers here.
So when we just real quick, when we build these, you guys, It's a one-time fee. Okay. Like we will build them out. That's a one-time fee. And then as long as you continue to use High Note thereafter, right? You're just paying your monthly fee of $35 or $29 if you're on the annual plan is what you technically would pay.
Yeah.
Right. These build jobs are one-off, right? One and done. Just get it done. Get your pre-listing done, get your buyer done, get your listing, all good.
Yeah. Donna, yes, 279.20 to set up for one presentation, right? And then you pay the service so that you can deliver and get notifications. I hope that answers your questions. So Edwin, yeah, listing presentations as well, obviously. The more done for you services or templates you buy, the cheaper they get. We just had someone buy 10 the other day, and agents are buying multiple ones because they need the help and need the service. The other thing is we offer a guarantee for this. All right. So it's a money back guarantee. And if you use these presentations and use High Note as described, right, and it doesn't help you win more, we'll refund your money. Okay. So there is no risk at all doing this. More business guaranteed. Cool. And then Chris is busy fielding requests. Take his take his number, do a Zoom with him, and you could learn more. He could give you a demo, everything. Complete guide to building, but the webinar code is going to expire by the end of the week. So if you want to take advantage of 20%, you need to purchase immediately. Robin has a question. Can you put the code back up? So it's HN webinar, HN webinar, HN webinar. Okay, someone messaged that to Robin. Now there's several giveaways here. We have, in case you're not sick of QR codes, we have the buyer presentation tips handout. It's numerous tips on how to build great buyer presentations. It also includes the template as well. Then there's also, I'm just going to just show this one, the buyer presentation tips. This is free. You get this and you can download this. And it also is delivered through High Note, so you see the experience as well. All right. We're almost wrapped up. Sorry about the tech issues in the beginning. Any other questions about the buyer presentation or anything else here? Anything else?
I have one. I want to tell you guys, like, it's going to be so important moving forward, right? We don't really know what we don't know yet. You have to have a buyer presentation. You're going to have one. You're going to have to explain these things. I don't really think at this point there's a way around it, right? If you don't have one, whether you're using High Note or not, like if you want to succeed, you want to beat everybody else, because I promise you, so many agents are not going to take this step, and they're going to lose a big majority of their business because they don't have things set up ahead of time going into these changes, and the media is not helping a thing. Just really bad headlines, in my honest opinion, and a lot of misunderstanding of the industry as a whole. You have to have these. Like, you're going to have to be able to present that. And this is just a really easy, super cool way to do it. I hope that whoever you belong to from a brokerage standpoint, they provide you with some legal insights into what, how to explain commissions, but you already have a bunch of these assets. It's very easy to drag and drop, and you can build these relatively quickly. But please, if you get nothing other than this, make sure you have these presentations ready to go when everything starts to change. You'll be ahead of the game, I promise you.
Thank you. Robin, so just scan this QR code and then enter in, it will automatically pre-populate the cart for one done for you service and annual High Note, and then enter in HN webinar to get 20% off. Alan, big fan of High Note, would like better options for offline presenting. Yes, offline presenting is coming. I know we've been saying this to to several people um, for some time now, and we are adding options for offline presentation. Absolutely.
Is Alan, I don't know, like, I live kind of close to do you like live or work in a rural area, a place that you're not online? I'm just curious about that. Like, what would be the use case there? Like, is there a time that you don't have like
Yeah,
your phone?
sometimes I'll answer for him, but he should answer. But sometimes these you don't get good cell coverage in the house, or if you're on an iPad, or maybe you don't have hotspot or
Connection
something.
to the internet?
Yeah. And
Okay.
then it's weird, honestly, it's weird to ask the homeowner to like access to their Wi-Fi. So that doesn't make any sense. And yeah, exactly. One less
Got it.
hurdle.
Okay, cool.
I barely could get a
Yeah,
phone call in my own home. So
I mean, I don't even know how to get home these days without this. I'm like, what's the best traffic route, so I don't get stuck in a traffic
no, I
jam.
know, but I mean, it'd be great to have service in your own home, right? And so I
Yeah,
don't even get cell phone service in my home sometimes.
cool.
So,
Thanks, Alan.
yep. Cool. Anything else, guys? We're just gonna wrap up, and we're gonna be doing a series of these. Obviously, we're gonna be sharing a lot of these tips. There's a lot of these buyer presentation assets or content. Talking about the NAR lawsuit, how you're compensated, why buyer representation, why exclusive buyer representation. So these types of stuff we're producing. We're going to be including it within High Note as well, so that you have all the content you need to go out and just win deals. Now, it's a slow time, everyone. We understand. So this is why you need to make every single lead count. Every single lead you get, you have to have the attitude, I'm going to win this lead. Why? Because there's fewer of them. And so you need to really step up your game. We've been through these cycles before, or I have at least, when it was really slow. And but what the slow time does is it sharpens your blade. And you just have to give yourself, confidence, motivation that, hey, I need to step up my game. It's not just about buying leads. It's about getting those leads that you spent money for and converting them, making sure you get 100% of the leads. Hino can do that, and we guarantee it. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. And it was fantastic. I live along the Gulf Coast, and the ability to hotspot. Okay, got it, Karen. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone. Your feedback today has been great, fantastic. Um, Thanks, everyone, and reach out to us if you have any questions. You can reach out to myself, Randy, or Chris. My email is mark@highnote.io, and you have Randy's, and then Chris as well. All right, thanks, guys.